Hello and welcome back to another SoundSpot tutorial. In today's video we're going to look at expanding Union's capabilities by using external wavetables. This has been a feature since the 1.0.3 update, so if you don't have that you can head over to the SoundSpot website and just re-download the installer, and that's the same for the plugin boutique as well. And we're going to make a keys preset using this wavetable that we're going to import. The two oscillators that generate the wavetable, that's how Union works, just a little bit different to other wavetable synthesis. So if we select this sawtooth and square and hit generate, we'll get a combination of the two, and we can hit generate again and just keep generating different ones till we find the sound that we like. We can utilize the effects as well, so oscillator 1 and 2 feed into 4 effects, which then help generate the wavetable as well. So if we add tons of unison on each side, add some distortion, and crank the drive and the mix up so we have this sound, and when we hit generate we get more of a complex wavetable, as you can see here. From beginning to end we can just scroll by clicking and dragging, and we can use the mouse wheel as well. Also jump into the wavetable and we can scroll like this. Another great feature of Union is being able to unlink these two and have them set at different positions, so we can get creative with sound design, but at the same time we can just relink them and they will snap back to their locations. Let's initialize the preset, and we'll turn off oscillators 1 and 2 and bring the level of oscillator 3 up so we get the same levels. We're going to hit the magnifying glass so we can get into the editing window and head to the wavetable section here. When we click load, you see that we've loaded up 2 different wavetables here. This can be anywhere on your computer. This is just in my demo tables folder, and we're going to use custom sign 2. It's a custom design and gives further flexibility in Union. We do have the option to load 2 different wavetables so we can get creative with sound design, but that is based on a left and right channel basis, so remember that when you're making these choices. So now we have this. We have some different textures there. These are not morphed wavetables, so they're not smooth flowing through. These are just different wavetable shapes. Let's find one that we like the sound of. That sounds quite nice. Let's stick with that one. So how are we going to make this keys pack? So keys are technically quite soft and at the same time have a lot of release time on them, or a long decay. In this case, I want the keys to kind of stop playing, just like you'd hit a piano and it just stops. It doesn't carry on or sustain until you hold a pedal. So we're going to go into the ADSR and I'm going to drop this down right down here so we have no sustain whatsoever. We just have our decay rate. I'm going to set the decay rate to about 1.5 seconds. It's a little bit too short, so if we click here and drag, we can zoom much further in and we can extend that. So let's extend the sustain there. We'll do about 2 seconds. Now that we have that set up, we're going to use the mod ADSR on the cutoff here. So we're going to set this to a 24 dB low pass. And I want to cut that off quite drastically so we get a nice soft sound. We're going to use the mod ADSR here to bring in that level. So this is our range marker, and we can drag what range it is jumping to, so it will start here and drop down based on the speed of this. We want this to match the ADSR, so we have a 2-second drop here, so we're going to go a little bit less and go for a 1.5 second drop. So we can still see that on our screen here. And that's about right. We could just drag that down a little bit by holding this middle node. Let's bring this down. Now Now that we have that done, we want to work on the stereo a little bit. It's sounding a little bit too straight down the centre and a little bit boring. So we're going to utilise the detune and the blend here to make this sound a little bit thicker and a little bit warmer as well. So we're going to jump out of here and we're going to go to the unison section here, and let's just apply, I think we're going to pick 3. That's usually my go-to area. The reason for using 3 here on the unison is because of the blend and detune features that we're going to use. The blend is the harmonics, and if we have 3, we're going to have a centre harmonic and 1 harmonic on either side with the detune, so we can control how wide those harmonics are from the centre point, and we can use the blend to control that middle harmonic as well, how prominent we want that in there. So if we bring the blend down, we technically nearly get the sound that we started with. We get full influence there. So I'm going to go around for a 30 to 40% blend and turn this detune down. We're keeping it quite personal. The sound sounds really personal. If you want to go for a thicker sound, go for about in the 20s. I want this to start sounding organic and just have that nice texture to it. Now we can't use these effects at the top to influence this one, but we can use the master effects here at the bottom. And before we do that, I'm going to jump into the velocity and portamento tab here and set velocity to 100% so we get key velocity sensitivity. But now that's starting to sound a little bit more natural. Now that we have that in there, I'm going to show you a little trick that you can do to brighten up the start points, just like you do with the mod envelope here, to use that same technique but on an EQ or various other effects that can do the same sort of thing. So we're going to drag the EQ to start with. This is the easiest one to display, and we have 4 bars here. So we have the lows, low mids, mids and highs. We're going to work on the highs, and we can just increase the highs. It's not doing too much at the moment because we don't have too much bite coming through. So what we can do is increase this. Then when we increase this, we get crispiness coming through. Now I'm going to hit this here and we can cycle through 1 of 4 LFOs that we can add to this, but we can use these as envelopes. So in the same way that we used the mod ADSR, we're going to use the same here utilizing the EQ. So I'm going to bring this up to around 3 o'clock. So the range is going to start from 3 o'clock and then drop back down to that 0 position marker. Then if we click the FX LFO tab here, you can see LFO 1 through 4 is here, and we want to utilize this as an envelope. So I'm going to drag this first node to the top and double click to remove these nodes, and then drag this center node to control the shape. And there we have it. We have an envelope. Set this to trigger mode, and I'm going to set the rate because the rate is always moving. I'm just going to set that to 32 bars so that can never come back in when you're holding long chords, and it'll always re-trigger at the beginning. So I'm going to make that a little bit stabbier like so. And then when we jump into the sound, have it brighter, or we can turn it off. And we can make this more pronounced if we wanted to make this even brighter. Let's use a 12 dB low pass filter. We've got more attack. We can hear that there's going to be more attack on here. We can utilize different things like that. Now we have the envelope set up, we can attach it to other things. We can have a distortion unit. And I'm going to set this to digital, so it's a little bit brighter. Let's just get this set up how I want it to sound. Just adding a little bit of texture onto that sound. You can hear that it's just starting to fizz, a little bit like vinyl distortion. So now that we have that, we can use the LFO1 here and we can drive that up to 0 and then back down. So let's have the mix set to 33% so it jumps from the high to that point. There's another way we can add bite, and that's by modulating the wavetable position, but we can't do that with this particular wavetable. As I said, this is not blended or morphed to run through the sequence smoothly, it's just a selector of different wave shapes. But we can just jump into the wavetable, click once to get our mod ADSR. If your sound went from a saw wave to a sine wave, you can jump to the saw wave quickly to add a little bit of brightness at the start of your wavetable when the key is struck, and then it'll go quiet again to the softer sound. And then from there, we can add our extras in there. So let's add some reverb and some delay. First things first, let's start with reverb. I'm going to bring the width down just a little bit and do the same. And increase the low pass here, turn the dampening down. I'm going to turn the mix to around 20%. And I'm going to filter out everything below maybe 450 Hertz, somewhere around there, and just increase the tail. So I'm just using this to set the tone. As you can see, I'm not trying to push this like a reverb where you'd wash the sound in reverb. I'm just trying to use it so it sets a tone and a mood for the preset. It gives it quite a nice sound there. Let's add some delay. I'm going to set these both to 4, and then I'm going to set the left to dotted. And again, around 450 Hertz. Chop off those lows. Drop some of the highs. And then if we want, before all of this, we can insert a chorus and we can introduce a little bit of thickness and warmth. And then once we've got to that level, we can just drop on the dynamics here. We don't have to use the compressor, we can just increase the gain till we get the level that we need. And then for effect, why not jump in, copy your ADSR settings, add another one in, paste those in, and we can start mixing in the 2 original oscillators in as well, so we can add extra texture and definition. And then finally, we could use the first oscillator to increase the bite if you wanted a really hard hitting sound at the beginning, or just add a little bit more texture to the sound. So let's add that in, and we'll use the organ preset here. I'm going to paste those settings again, and I'm going to bring that back. It's only affecting that first portion. And what we'll do to get rid of some of the low end, we'll change this cutoff to a high pass 12. and we'll control it to about 800 Hz. So if we was to solo that, we're just getting that little bit of sparkle out of the sound. Don't forget, we can further saturate these sounds with distortion, delay, phase or reverb to add to the sound. It won't affect the third wavetable, but it will add to these first two. And then finally, before we end this video, let's add a little bit of modulation in there so it sounds a little bit more organic. And we'll do this just on the third one here so you can hear exactly what's happening. And I'm going to jump into the LFO, remove the node, and we can make this into an envelope as well if we wanted. But I'm going to set this to run at 8ths. And when we're back on the main screen, we can assign this to the fine tune. So if we click once, it'll assign it to the mod ADSR, and again through to the LFO, which are both color coordinated for ease of use. So let's increase the range. And now we get a little bit of realism in there, and we could do the same with the volume if we wanted to. We could actually have the volume down a little bit. Just to give a little bit of modulation. Let's add that in 16ths. And then we can go in and hit copy on that. Go to each one. LFO, paste, and all we have to do is set the speed. And again, fine tune, 2 clicks to get to LFO. And then finally, if we wanted to add it to the first one, we'd repeat those steps again. But with that being an attack, we don't want to do anything there. And finally, so you can hear what those two have done to the overall sound, I'll turn both off. Let's add them back in. And that brings us to the end of the video. You can catch these videos on our mailers before they go out on YouTube, so if you want to see that and be a part of that, you can sign up to our mailer through the website. If you did enjoy this insight into how you can expand Union's capabilities, please let us know down in the comments, and don't forget to drop us a like and also hit the subscribe button to see more videos like this in the future.